a new poll just dropped, and looks like we're about to start redefining who is and is not a top tier candidate. Let's check it out. In this new Wisconsin Democratic primary poll, Warren's at 23%. Unfortunately, that is a bigger deal than I would have liked it to be, to keep it real with you. And I'll explain why in a second. Sanders is at 17%. That's a bigger deal than what it is too, but for good reasons. Biden is at 9%. Uh-oh. And hold on. What does that say? That say Tulsi Gabbard at 6%? Let me rub my eyes real quick. You know, I got long eyelashes. Sometimes my eyelashes, they get into my eyes and it makes my vision a little bit blurry. And sometimes I could mix up potentially Tulsi Gabbard and Kamala Harris's name. I remember she told me that she's a top tier candidate. And so when the eyelashes get in my eyes, I confuse Tulsi and Kamala's names at times. So I just want to make sure that I'm not crazy, because when I check this, yeah, that's what it says. It says that Tulsi Gabbard is top 4 in Wisconsin, while, by the way, Yang, number 4%, that's great. Buttigieg, 5%. Literally nothing has changed with Buttigieg. This man is at the same 5 or 6% that he has always had. You almost get to a point you feel bad for him. But Harris at 2%. This is a huge deal, people, for a lot of different reasons. So let's first break down why this is a big deal just in general. This entire poll should be, people should pay close attention to this poll. So there were 12,080, or I see we got super chats before I get started. Kamala, top tier candidate. Ha! I see what you did right there. Thanks for the super chat, Rinston. Jack Smith, thanks for the super chat. Niko, thanks for your honesty and analysis. Hey, I greatly appreciate that. David Harris, go Tulsi, keep up the good work, Niko. Thanks for the love, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Y'all have been awesome today. So 1,280 people were asked all the questions in this particular poll. It was a poll conducted by changeresearch.org. However, there was still a huge number of people asked specifically about voting in the Democratic primary. 1,009 people said that they were going to vote in the Democratic primary out of that 1,280. So what does that mean? So out of the 1,280, that's a 2.7% margin of error. You know, taking away 200 people, it might have went up to 3.5, 3.6%. Either way, it's a pretty damn good margin of error. And guess why it's an even better margin of error, and why it's even more important that we pay attention to this poll. Wisconsin is an open primary state, people. It is an open primary state that is an absolute must win if you are going to beat Trump in 2020. If you were going to galvanize, it is going to be representative of a Democratic candidate's ability to galvanize a base to not only win back the White House, but win back various legislatures and governorships all over the country. So this says, basically, so for Tulsi, this is a huge deal, because out of that huge sample size, Tulsi is a top 4 candidate with less name recognition and less coverage in a state she has barely campaigned in, if she's even campaigned at all. Top 4. Let me be very clear about something. Obviously, I'm close enough to the campaign that I can tell you where they've been campaigning at and where they're spending the most time at. I don't think they've spent any time or money in Wisconsin. I don't think that they've phone banked in Wisconsin. I don't think that they've canvassed in Wisconsin. I don't think that they've put up a billboard, ran an ad in Wisconsin. Tulsi wasn't even in the last debate, people. She wasn't even in the last debate. Kamala was. Buttigieg was and was praised a lot for it. Castro even. Hell, even Yang. Yang did a great job in that last debate, by the way. But yet and still, Tulsi is in fourth place in an open primary state. So then the question becomes, well, one, how is she fourth place? Well, how many times have I said over and over and over again, I said, y'all keep playing, but there are 37 either open or semi-open primary states. The majority of those will have a direct effect on the outcome of this election. Some are so late and they have such, so few delegates that they won't matter all that much. Wisconsin is not one of those states. I've said that you have two candidates, really three. If you include Andrew Yang, you have three candidates who could potentially just obliterate the establishment in any of the open and semi-open primary states. Obliterate them. And you have a lot of semi-open primary states where they're only Trump is already, he's winning. He's going to win the Republican nomination, obviously. So they don't really have anybody else to vote for unless they're like that, unless they have a lot of Republicans primarying each other, which is generally, from what I've seen, not the case. Like, it's just not the case usually, unless the Republicans have a new promised corporate funded candidate that they want to use to beat out somebody else who hasn't been playing ball. So if I'm in a semi-open primary state, I'm probably more concerned about who's going to run the White House, because I'm going to be able to vote in the general election no matter what. And I don't have an option to vote for, so maybe I decide to vote for either Tulsi Gabbard or Bernie Sanders or Andrew Yang. Or hell, even Marianne Williamson in some cases in the more liberal states. With 1,000 people being asked, in Tulsi 6%, Yang 4%, Bernie 17%, what that shows me is that what we have been saying will happen is probably going to happen. The quote-unquote outsiders will absolutely dominate open primary states. And at the very bare minimum, where they do not win with a decisive victory, the delegates will be split amongst them in such a way that the establishment will not be able to call together enough votes to have a quote-unquote decisive victory. And once again, as long as the progressives in the race, the outsiders in the race, decide to bring those votes together in the first round of voting at the Democratic National Convention, we're good. So, Warren is in first place. She is in first place, and it should not be ignored. However, it also shouldn't be ignored that she's also being pushed by the media in a disgusting fashion. That should also not be ignored. But the only reason she is in first place is because she leads amongst the 50 to 64-year-olds. She leads there, which is kind of crazy because she's beating Biden in that category. Bernie, however, is leading amongst the 18 to 34-year-olds. And I imagine that because Yang primarily campaigns on social media and obviously is on the younger side, and Tulsi primarily campaigns on social media and is on the younger side, that Tulsi and Yang are maybe taking some votes away from Bernie. But even with them taking votes away from Bernie, for Bernie to still be in second place is huge, especially by winning that younger group. And like we've said, there are a lot of people, for whatever reason, if Biden drops out, their next vote, they said, is for Bernie. That's the next in line for them. Inexplicable. Don't get it. Don't really care to. But that's the way it's going to work. So if Biden drops out, I do believe that Warren has stolen some of the votes from Biden because of Biden's gaffes. Because he's just not. It's Biden, right? I'm trying not to insult the man's mental state, but Lord Jesus, he makes it very, 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 very hard. However, she has taken some of his establishment votes or voters. That's fine. Don't really care. It's the question. And I think it also should be said, she's taken a hell of a lot of Kamala's voters. I think that we can all agree with that, right? Kamala's voters probably largely went to Warren. And the reason I say that is because Warren leading in the polls, just like when Biden led in the polls, just like when Kamala was top 3, interchangeably between Bernie and Biden. Like she would sometimes she'd be number 2, sometimes she would be 3. Most of the time she'd be 3, but she was still top 3. The reason that she was top 3, the same reason that Warren is now number 1, and the same reason that Biden was number 1. It's the media attention she's getting. But it's still far too early. Like in that context, when it comes to media attention, it is far too early for us to believe that a first place candidate in a poll in an open primary state is going to remain there for that long. Because the media bias shifts based off of who they think believes is the quote unquote most electable at the time. So if you are polling in a particular area at 27% or 21% or whatever it is, if you're polling in a particular area, especially when most of your results are coming from positive feedback from 50 to 64. Oh, what a coincidence. Was the dominant demographic of CNN and MSNBC 50 or 60 really and above. So basically their viewership skews older. They're hearing your name more than anyone else, but no one is really dead set in the person they're going to vote for. But they're hearing your name more than anybody. Does that mean they necessarily like you more than everybody else? Does it necessarily mean that they like your policies more than anybody else? It's probably more along the lines of, we thought we liked Biden, but we don't like him anymore. We thought we liked Kamala, but we don't really like him anymore. I hear Elizabeth Warren's name now. They seem to think she's pretty cool. Yeah, I guess Elizabeth Warren works. And that's basically how it went. Because once again, that's how the polls have been fluctuating. Whoever gets the positive media attention at that time ends up in the top 3. Biden is hurt. He needs to quit. That's all I got to say about that for Biden. Harris. This is the fun part. And this may not be what did she say? What was the word she used? I wish I could remember the word she used. She said this may not be modest or whatever. I can't remember the word she used, but she said this may not be modest, but I'm a top tier candidate, okay? And it was clear that a lot of people were trying to take me down because I'm a top tier candidate. Yeah, too bad, because you're not anymore. Whoop! Yeah. Tulsi took that ass out. Bethlehem Tesfaye, thank you very much for your input. And thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate it, Beth. By the way, I just now realized you have the same last name as The Weeknd. Just random. I was like, where have I seen that last name before? But anyway, who's also of African descent. I think he's half Ethiopian, half Nigerian, if I recall. Anyway, so Tulsi took Kamala all the way out. Tulsi, and I said this before, the moment that you had that anchor dressed up damn near in the same exact outfit as Tulsi, asking her very similar questions to what Tulsi asked. When previously to Tulsi exposing Kamala, Kamala's record was off limits. It was off limits. You were not allowed to discuss her record. And then all of a sudden, what happened? Well, I mean, she's done now, right? So we can use this for ratings. Okay. Hey, Kamala, come here real quick. I gotta talk to you. So she got torched the first time by Tulsi. Got torched again by the moderator. Has not recovered since, and now she's at 2%. But this is a bigger problem than just the Democratic primary. Like I just explained to you all, this is an open primary state where Republicans and conservatives will be voting. Not only the Democratic primary, but in the general election as well. When you've gotten as much positive media attention as Kamala has, when you have spent as much money as Kamala has, when you have, quote unquote, the amount of experience that Kamala has on her team anyway, even though it is losing experience. Not all political experience is good experience, people. When you have that much going in your favor as a Hampton's chosen one, people. She was the Hamptons chosen one. And you're at 2% in an open primary state in a poll that had a 2.7% margin of error. Oh, bruh. You got to go. You guys, like, y'all know I'm not really a Democrat, but if you are a Democrat and you do want to win this election and you do want to, take over the legislature and take over the Senate and get those governorships back, like, you better tell Kamala to drop out. Because if, for whatever reason, they anoint that woman, she is going to get obliterated by Trump in the Rust Belt. Obliterated. That's what will happen to her. At the end of the day, political elections and polls are not a monolith. They're not like monolithic in how you have to analyze them. Sometimes they demonstrate. You can learn things about the past. You can learn things about the future, and obviously you can learn things about the present. When you're talking about a poll with over 1,000 people asked, with a margin of error of 2.7%, in an open primary state where Republicans and Democrats participated and independents participated, where you had the 18 to 34-year-olds participating and the 50 to 64-year-olds participating. When you've gotten, for the most part, positive coverage generally, when you've been insulated for the most part by the establishment, when you've been funded for the most part by the establishment, when your damn sister worked for the queen of the establishment, you've had every single opportunity and advantage, and you're at 2% in an open primary state. You will get destroyed by Trump. Not only in Wisconsin, by the way, but Wisconsin is pretty representative of Ohio, Michigan, the Rust Belt, somewhat Illinois. That means you're going to get beat in all those states. It's time for you to go. Gotta go. Gotta get her out. Get her out yesterday. But hey, people, I will tell you this. You better be humble. You never know when you could go from being the next top tier candidate to 2%. in an open primary state, in a poll that has a 2.7% margin of error, which is a fantastic margin of error, by the way. You never know. So be humble. Sit down. Bruh, at this rate, Kamala might lose California. I think Yang is beating her in California. Hey, remember that party that Kamala's people did on Twitter? Oh yeah, Tulsi didn't make the debates. Tulsi didn't make the debates. Tulsi didn't make the debates. Oh, so Tulsi didn't make the debates, but yet a poll that was released last night, she's still ahead of you in a state she hasn't even campaigned in. Oh. At that point, if I'm Tulsi's campaign, I'm celebrating. You're right. I didn't make the debates, and I'm still beating you. Ugh. Jesus. Hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you like that segment of Mikasa Sukasa. Also, you can help us upgrade the studio and take this show on the road to cover the on-the-ground politics that you love by clicking on that GoFundMe link in the description and donating literally anything. Anything helps. Also, you can follow us on Rockfin, on Twitter, and on Facebook as well. And hey, more than anything else, people, always remember, find your balance. Peace.